everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. Today we are going to talk about the ins, the outs, the good, the bad of Disney D23 Expo. This is the second time I have attended the Expo. The Expo is put on by D23, which is the fan club for hardcore Disney fans. D23 has events during the rest of the year, other things that you can attend, screenings, different things, usually in Anaheim, but sometimes other places. Like last year, they had a special screening of Cinderella at the Library of Congress because it was being inducted into the Library of Congress. And so sometimes they'll have events other places, and sometimes you'll have screenings like Mary Poppins. Last year was a D23 screening, early screening. So there are other benefits for joining D23 aside from the Expo, and actually you don't get that many benefits if you are an actual D23 Gold member. But it is put on by D23 the Expo every 2 years, and I kind of joke that they do that so you have enough time to remember to forget how hard it is. It's a great experience, but it definitely has its pluses and minuses, that's for sure. This year, the Expo started on August 23rd, and it lasted until August 25th. And that was a month later than the previous Expo, which had been in July. And so I don't know why they decided to do it that way this time, but nevertheless. So you sign up. I signed up for my tickets for D23 Expo last year, try to get the lower early bird rate, and the ticket to the D23 Expo was $193, including shipping. That was the early bird special. And they do have relationships with all the different hotels. I was able to get a pretty good deal. My hotel was pretty basic, but it certainly was sufficient because I wasn't there very much. It was the Clarion Hotel in Anaheim, and it was $179 a night for the hotel. It didn't have breakfast, which was included, which would have been nice, but that was, and it was literally steps away from the Expo, so that made it very, very, very nice. And they do also help you to get a small discount when you purchase your D23 Expo tickets. You can get a small discount on your tickets to Disneyland if you decide to go. Something like, I think I saved $10. So just a small discount with your tickets to the Expo. That's kind of the first year ticket order process. So what they decided to do is they decided to implement a reservation system this time to try to make things a little bit more manageable and to guarantee you some spots without waiting in line. It didn't really work out that well for them, I don't think, this time. And so I logged on at the time that they had said for reservations, and they said, oh, we're not ready, come back in I think a couple of hours. Came back in a couple of hours, and they said, oh, it'll be tomorrow, and that was on a Friday. And I know a lot of people struggled because then on Saturday they had things going on, and so then I went on Saturday, and I was extremely fortunate to be able to get reservations to pretty much everything that I wanted, which was very, very lucky. Most people did not have such luck. And you also, when you made the reservation, you could have an option of getting a +1, up to 3 people per reservation. And I should have done that. The reservations were for the Disney stores as well as the panels. And then they're also talent that you could make reservations for. So I was lucky. I made my reservations, and it was a little bit confusing about where we were supposed to go if we had a reservation, because the convention opened at 9, but we were supposed to be there for the morning panel an hour early, which was a little confusing. But it turned out you just had to be to the outside of the building basically, and then they let you into a waiting area before 9 o'clock. So that's kind of what happened. So let's dive into the actual event itself. So I had my reservations, I had my pass, I had my hotel ready to go. So we started out on Friday. There were some people who waited overnight because they didn't have a reservation. I found that most of the people that were there, with the emphasis on shopping, had less fun and less good time than the people there were there for the panels. So it's just something to consider. The stores, I went to one store and I wasn't that impressed with it, although I did get a pretty cool t-shirt out of the deal. So, and some ornaments. So let's talk about though what my experience was. So on Friday, I got there pretty early because I was nervous about this whole thing, and I got there around 7 o'clock. I didn't have a morning panel, so I waited in just the regular line. And I waited until I got into the building around 9:30. And that's the thing that you have to understand about D23 is it is a convention of lines. You wait in line for everything. I mean, everything. You go to the bathroom, you wait in line. To get any food, you wait in line. To do any attraction of any kind. If you want your picture taken with a statue, with a anything you'll end up waiting in line. They had Elsa and Anna statues, and it was about 30 minutes to get pictures with Elsa and Anna. And that's just the way it is. If you accept that going in, then you're gonna be a lot happier. But the nice thing, I guess, about the lines is that most of the lines you're just waiting to then get moved into the convention, as opposed to a line at Disneyland that's constantly moving. So you can just kind of sit down and start reading a book or doing something like that, which is, I think, less stressful than a moving line, at least. So it might sound like, oh my gosh, how could you be in line for 4 hours? You're kind of just reading and, entertaining yourself for 4 hours. You're not really in line in that sense of an active line, if that makes sense. But anyway, that's the way it is. It was fun. While I was there that first morning, I went to an ink and paint demonstration, which was really neat to see, because that's kind of a dying art. And they do it now mostly for mementos and souvenirs and things like that. But it is pretty cool. It was pretty cool to see. And then I went to a special panel at the archives. And what's really cool about the archives is they have all of these panels about all different kinds of Disney history. Learn about Disney history and the history of film, Walt himself. And the one that I went to was about one of the 9 old men named James Alger. And he not only was an incredible animator, but he was also a documentarian who did a lot of the early adventure films for Walt Disney. And so that was really, really neat to see. And it turns out he was he helped give a tour and helped encourage young George Lucas. And he had a little note, a thank you note from George Lucas. It was his daughter that gave the presentation. She did a really good job, and that was really fun. And so, yeah, I mean, I figured out that I waited about at least 20 hours total when you add up all the time to get into the building, all the time in just all the different lines. So it is a convention of lines. And so after the James Alger panel, then was the Disney Plus panel. And as far as the large panels, this was, I think, the best put on panel. They had a very good host, Yvette Nicole Brown. And she did a really good job. She had some energy, and they started it off really fun by having the High School Musical new series they did the all in this together, and that made it a lot of fun. And so they started out with news about the new Lizzie McGuire, and then they had Forky asked a question, and then Kevin Feige got up, and we learned about all the different Marvel shows, and that was pretty cool, and especially WandaVision made me very excited. They had Jeff Goldblum up about The World According to Jeff Goldblum, which is an unscripted docuseries. They had another docuseries called Encore with Kristen Bell there about reuniting old high school theater groups, which was looks like a lot of fun. They had Stargirl, a cute new movie called Timmy Failure, Mistakes Were Made. That was a little trailer. And then they brought out Lady from Lady and the Tramp. And of course, I was very, very excited when they brought out the cast of Noelle. And because I love Christmas movies, and they played the trailer. And so that was very exciting because, I love Christmas movies. And, a lot of times they'll just bring people out for like just a matter of minutes and people get really, really excited. I'm more interested in what they have to say than, ooh, look, there's this famous person. That doesn't do a whole lot for me in these big panels. But they talked about a film called Togo with William Dafoe and the sheepdog in Alaska. That looked pretty interesting for Disney Plus. Muppets Now, and they had a little thing, and then Diary of a Female President with Gina Rodriguez playing herself, and then there's somebody else playing the younger her. And then Kathleen Kennedy came out, talked about Star Wars, of course, Clone Wars. Dave Filoni came out, and turns out him and Jon Favreau are friends. They were both talking, and they're talking about Clone Wars, talking about The Mandalorian. We talked about Rogue One. We got a trailer for Mandalorian. And Kathleen Kennedy said every Star Wars film, including Rise of the Skywalker, will be available on Disney Plus within a year. So that was pretty cool. And then finally they announced that Ewan McGregor would be returning as Obi-Wan in a new series for Disney Plus, and that was pretty fun. But that was a really good panel. So that was the end of day one. So that's kind of give you an idea of what it's like a day in D23. I ate a lot of snacks. I brought a lot of snacks, which was a good idea. Tried to stay hydrated. It's a lot of waiting. It's a lot of stress. I had fun though on Twitter, kind of quizzing everybody and just trying to keep myself occupied. So that was day one. Okay, started really early. I got there around 5:30, and it was so crazy because as I was walking in, my friend Stanford, who does all of the Disney podcasts with me, was walking in at the same time, and we did not coordinate it at all. And you think about 30,000 people are coming and going into this thing that we would at just the same time. I thought that was so amazing. And what was really cool during the waiting time, not only was I able to sit next to my friend, but a whole bunch of really awesome people from Twitter and from YouTube and everything came up to say hi, which was so much fun. Like Jonathan from Jonathan Nest _96, he came up. I also saw Reg_arm. You check him out on Twitter. That was really fun. And then I saw Julia Elbell, and she was adorable and great. And so it was just really fun to get to see all these people from Twitter and sort of the community that we have there. That made it a lot easier to get through the whole experience. During this panel, I don't think was put on as well as the panel for Disney Plus. I think they had Alan Horn being the MC, and he's just like a businessman. I think it worked better having Yvette Nicole Brown do it for Disney Plus because she's an actress, and she was just a much better host and just got some energy. I liked having the musical number at the beginning. It kind of just of Disney Plus. This one, I was so tired from having waited for 5 hours that I have to admit I got a little sleepy. But it still had some really good stuff. They started out with Star Wars. Everybody's now seen the Evil Rey clip, but that was pretty fun. And then they had Marvel, and they had Black Widow clips, particularly a fight scene between Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson that was pretty cool. They had Ryan Coogler come out and talk about Black Panther 2, and they announced the cast of the Eternals. And again, these just like, here's these famous people. That doesn't do a whole lot for me as far as panels. Most of that cast we already knew about, so just seeing that, oh look, there they are, famous people, that doesn't excite me very much. I want to hear details. So that was Marvel part of it. Then they had the live action part of it, and you had The Rock and Emily Blunt both talking about Jungle Cruise, and they did sort of his and hers trailers. His trailers making him look like the star, her trailer making her look like the star. That was kind of cute. That was pretty funny. They had Maleficent 2, Mistress of Evil, and I thought it looked awful. It looked like Alice Through the Looking Glass to me, and I thought it was so bizarre because Michelle Pfeiffer, instead of, they asked her, like, did you have a good time making this film or something like that? And she was just like, She couldn't think of one thing to say. It was so weird. It was very strange. But they talked about Mulan, had some of the people behind that movie, and they showed an extended clip of the matchmaker sequence, and it did look pretty impressive. I still have some issues with that sexy hair that looks like it's right out of a pinup shoot, not a battle scene. It looks like it just had a blowout with a hairdryer. So I'm kind of annoyed by that, but overall, it looked pretty good. They had the director, Nikki Caro, on. And then they had a hello from Emma Stone, the cat from the filming of Cruella, which started this last week, which, you know, I'm not very high on these villain origin stories, so I wasn't very excited about that. That was the live action panel. We had Pixar, where we got to hear about Onward and Soul. Both those looked really, really, really fun. I'm very excited for both. And then we had the Disney animation panel, where we got to learn more about the new film Raya and the Last Dragon, which looks beautiful. We saw some clips from it, and we heard more from the filmmakers, and I'm really, really, really excited about it. It looked beautiful, and so that was cool. And then we also got to see some from Frozen 2, and we got to hear 3 new songs, just a tiny bit of one song that Elsa and Anna's mother sings to them, just Evan Rachel Wood. And then we got to hear 2 longer songs, and I really enjoyed both of them. One is for Elsa, and one was for the whole cast to sing, which sounded very, very cool. So that was great to get to go to that big panel. That was definitely the hardest ticket to get of the whole convention, is that animation live action panel. So I thought we might get something from the new Little Mermaid, especially since they just announced the casting, but we didn't. So there we go. That was basically it. I think I covered everything. So exhausted after this panel because it had just been a long, long morning that I basically rested the whole I went upstairs because there was hardly anything going on the upstairs level. So that's definitely a tip I would say. If you want some peace and quiet, go to that upstairs level. And then I explored the show floor a little bit, got my picture with FORKY, and then I went to the Aladdin concert panel, and this was a tribute thing, and it was really, really great. They had Scott Weininger and Linda Larkin and Brad Kane, who's the singing voice of Aladdin, and then they had the singer from the Hyperion version that played in Disneyland for many, many years, and then they had people from the Broadway cast, and then they finished off with Mina Masoon from the movie. So that was pretty cool, and they had the choreographer there from the movie who they did this huge choreographed scene. That was great. Definitely one of the highlights of the whole D23 was the Aladdin panel. It was wonderful. So that was day 2 of D23. It was a pretty long day, but it was very rewarding. Okay, so then we get to day 3, the next day. Obviously, I'm like a little bit tired, but I got there around 6:30, and they had a Little Mermaid 30th anniversary panel, which was incredible. Celebration. Jodie Benson, of course, was there. And then they had Ron Clements was there. They had video from Alan Menken because he's working on Hercules. And then they had just this incredible show with Jodie Benson and the other performers doing all the major songs. They had a video from Pat Carroll. Then she was hilarious. And they had Alea Carvalho come in, and I was hoping that we'd get them singing together. That would have been amazing, but didn't quite happen. But it was still really, really, really neat to hear about the making of the movie. They had clips from Howard Ashman and Alan Menken and the whole team and everything that were really, really, really interesting. And so, of course, I loved that. It was great. Then I got to meet the animator Floyd Norman in my Talent Central, and he was really great. And I said, thanks for doing all your animation. He said, don't thank me, thank Walt Disney. And because he actually worked with Walt Disney, and you'll never find a bigger defender of Walt. And his blog is great. You should definitely check it out. That was really a thrill. I went to a panel with the Lopez's, which was a lot of fun, of them talking about their writing process and how they work together. They said that they wanted to be the next Sherman Brothers, but married, which I thought was funny. And that we have to both let go of control for the inspiration to come. And so, and also long before Let It Go, there were people in story meetings talking about their sisters. So that was really, really neat. And so then the final panel of the night of the expo was at Hall D23. It was called the Character Voices Panel. And this was celebrating 30 years of the Character Voices Association that they have at Walt Disney that helps keep the characters sounding the same and consistent, and the set actors and everything's like that. And it was pretty phenomenal, and ended up going way over, like an hour over. And you got to hear from Jim Cummings, Paige O'Hara, Linda Larkin, Jodie Benson, Nikononi Raj. You had the voice of Miguel from Coco and his brother singing. You had Alea Carvalho singing, which was incredible. Jennifer Goodwin was there. So that was great. And it was just a really, really cool experience that I, as an animation fan, to get to hear all of these great voice actors talk about their experiences. They had clips from Russi Taylor, who was the voice of Minnie Mouse, who just passed away. So that was very, very touching. And the whole thing was just one of the highlights for sure of the whole festival, of the whole expo. And so that was it. That was D23. It is exhausting. It's completely overwhelming. You do wait in a lot of lines for a long time, but you do get to do some really cool stuff. And there's also all the show stores that you also have to wait in. But it's a really great experience, and I'm definitely glad that I went, glad that I toughed it out. And it was just a really fun experience to learn about. It was a grueling experience, but it was also a really, really great experience. So let me know what you thought of what you heard about D23. Is it something you'd be interested in going to in the future, or does it all look like too much for you? I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you all later. Please subscribe to my channel and consider becoming a patron so I can do more fun stuff. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye!